Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Following Me Around, and today I'm reviewing the latest Shudder original movie, a weird sort of methodical. I hesitate to call it a horror movie. It's more of a mystery thriller called Dead Mail. For those unfamiliar, Dead Mail is a term used for mail that is unable to be sent wherever it needs to be because of an issue with the address where they can't figure out where it's supposed to go. And there's apparently a whole process that goes into that. If that sounds meticulous and boring, it is, but this movie somehow makes it interesting. I'm going to be honest. This one kind of came out of nowhere. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, and I don't even necessarily like it for its premise or its plot. I love it for its vibe. So let's get into Dead Mail.
Much I appreciate this opportunity.
Tell me what delights you.
There was someone else in that room.
Opening with this clearly distressed person held in captivity trying to mail a letter with bloodstains on it. We meet a sort of trio of protagonists. We have Jasper, an employee at the post office who investigates dead mail. We have Josh, the person who mailed said letter, and we have Trent, who I can't really talk too much about without spoiling the movie. I do want to keep this review spoiler free. So these three characters kind of converge together with this letter. And when I say that the plot is simplistic, I don't mean that as an insult. And I can't talk too much about the plot without giving it away. But what I can talk about, what I loved about this movie is it's set in 1980. And it's one of those movies, much like House of the Devil by Ty West, much like The Love Witch, where it almost feels like it could have been made in the year that it's set. Yes, it's set in 1980, but it doesn't shove nostalgia down your throat the way a certain sci-fi Netflix show does. It's grainy. I'm not sure. I couldn't find this online whether or not it was shot on 16 millimeter film, but it has that like low budget grain that you almost feel like this movie could have been made in 1980. And it almost feels like someone from 1980 was trying to make a 90s David Fincher mystery. And it's my cinematic comfort food. I love the long tracking shots. I love the kind of meticulous nature of it. I love the kind of quirkiness of the characters. I love that it is kind of a slow burn. It feels like a relic from that era, and that's so incredibly difficult, I think, to replicate. All the while, we're seeing this sort of, again, I'm a weird guy, genuinely interesting process of dead mail. And I never knew like that Jasper's basically like a detective in that, oh, well, we have this package that was damaged and we can't figure out where it's going. And he's like doing all these like basically PI work to try to figure out, who it came from, who it's meant to go to. All the while, the movie itself is weaving this big mystery just as meticulous as the work that he does. I really, really like our trio of performances. Again, I can't say too much without spoiling it. All I can say is that you have things like obsession, things like meticulous nature being played out, and all three of our characters do kind of have that meticulous nature, as does the movie and mystery itself. But you see each one kind of explored in completely different ways, ranging from healthy to criminal and sadistic. Really, really fun movie. Probably not good. Like if you're the type that just wants the blood and the gore and the slasher, not that there's anything wrong with those. I love those. There's time and place for those. It's not Terrifier. It's not, It's not kind of that genre of horror or thriller, but if you're someone who particularly loves just that era, and that, like, it's not even that the plot is engaging in you that much, it's just, I just want to sit back and just vibe in that style, in that kind of movie. It's almost hypnotic if you're someone who's into that era of horror films, and if you're someone who's into that era of just cinema in general. And again, I could not find, aside from maybe one instance of CGI fire, because they probably didn't have the budget or, to safely do real fire. I could not find one instance of watching this movie that I would be able to be like, nah, that definitely was made today, replicating 1980, rather than this might have actually been made in 1980. And that's just a very short and impressive list of movies that I will always sing the praises of, because it feels like they're not trying to again shove that nostalgia down your throat. They're trying to just be what that era was. I get sick and tired of, seeing historical movies that feel very modern, if you know what I mean. And I love how this one, down to the pacing, down to the cinematography, down to the color grading, down to the quality of the picture itself, just feels like it's a time capsule. So I really really enjoyed Dead Mail, and I think part of the reason I'm so impressed with was again that it seemingly came out of nowhere. I remember watching, like, oh, I gotta look. Here's the thing with Shutter originals. I'll be the first to admit they can be hit or miss. Some of them I really enjoy. Some of them I kind of forget about even after doing a review of them. I never think about it again until it's the end of the year, and I'm like, oh, I got to do my top 10 Shutter originals. And usually I'm basing that on which ones am I still thinking about at the end of the year. Dead Mail is one I will still be thinking about the end of the year, and I think it's my favorite Shutter original of the year so far, which is it's the one to beat. But hey, these are just my thoughts. This is just my incoherent rambling. This is just my review. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of Dead Mail? Were you born in the era where people still mailed things? Do you know that such a thing as the post office exists? Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may end up trapped in a basement by some insane person because they're trying to get you to. I'm about to spoil the movie. Just like, share, subscribe. And as always, every day is Halloween.